Carl Jung discovered something so dangerous for the human mind that he warned against it for decades. He realized there are people who possess a rare form of perception, a vision so penetrating that it cuts through every social mask, strips away unconscious defenses, and reveals motives hidden even in the smallest gestures. These individuals cannot simply not see. They notice the cracks in every persona. They sense the shadows lurking behind polite smiles, and they intuit truths that most people would rather bury. But Jung insisted, this gift is not only a blessing, it is also a burden, because to see too much is to risk being consumed by what you see. Imagine walking into a crowded room and instantly detecting the subtle power games behind every conversation, the resentment wrapped in friendly words, the envy hiding in quick glances. Imagine never being able to rest from the undercurrents of tension, as if the collective unconscious itself were whispering secrets only to you. Jung called this phenomenon differentiated perception, an awareness that belongs not to the majority, but to a rare few. And when it appears, it transforms life entirely. Some of these people become sages, spiritual leaders, visionaries. Others, unable to bear the weight of what they perceive, collapse into isolation, paranoia, or psychological breakdown. What Jung uncovered is that the human psyche relies on protective illusions. Most of us live within the shelter of useful fictions, social masks that allow us to function, narratives that give order to chaos, distractions that soften the unbearable contradictions of existence. But the differentiated perceiver cannot hide behind those illusions. For them, the curtain always falls, the mask always cracks, and the shadow behind every human being is laid bare. Jung compared this kind of vision to staring directly into the sun. It can illuminate, but it can also blind. This is why he considered it both fascinating and dangerous. Because seeing the truth is not enough, one must also have the psychic strength to withstand it. At the heart of this discovery lies a dilemma. How can one transform overwhelming perception into wisdom without being destroyed by it? How can someone integrate such intensity without falling into despair? And perhaps even more disturbing, what happens when this gift emerges in someone utterly unprepared to handle it? In this exploration, you will encounter the story of a real patient who could not stop seeing hidden truths, and how this tormented them to the edge of collapse. You will learn Jung's shocking insights into the mechanism of shadow projection, the key to understanding why these perceptions are so overwhelming. You will discover the 4 distinct types of people who develop this piercing awareness, and why each one faces unique dangers. You will also see why Jung believed this phenomenon to be genuinely hazardous to psychological health, and his revolutionary solution, the process of individuation, the path that turns unbearable perception into liberating wisdom. But prepare yourself. This is not just theory. Jung warned that to truly understand this phenomenon is to be changed by it. Because, as he often said, what we fear to see in others is precisely what we most need to recognize within ourselves. For Carl Jung, every human relationship is far more than what appears on the surface. What we call conversation, small talk, or even conflict is, in truth, a stage where the unconscious reveals itself. Behind every smile, beneath every silence, and hidden in every casual gesture are forces far older and deeper than we realize. Symbols, complexes, and archetypes that shape our lives from the shadows. This is where the idea of differentiated perception comes in. Jung observed that some people cannot simply accept the surface of reality. While most of us rely on social conventions, the persona, or the masks that allow us to function in society, the differentiated perceiver sees right through them. They sense the persona for what it is, not the truth of who we are, but a fragile mask protecting us from chaos. These individuals often notice, almost instantly, when someone is hiding a feeling, when kindness is forced, or when humility is just pride in disguise. It is as if the unconscious of others speaks directly to them. Jung believed this level of perception pierces the ordinary defenses that keep the psyche balanced. And here, lies the danger. Because the human psyche is designed to hide certain truths from itself. What Jung called the shadow, all that we repress, deny, or push away, never disappears. It continues to live inside us, surfacing indirectly. Most often, it does so through projection. We see in others the very qualities we cannot admit in ourselves. The hostility, envy, arrogance, or fear we condemn in others is often a mirror of our own unacknowledged inner life. But the differentiated perceiver does not escape this mechanism. In fact, they are more tormented by it. They see projections everywhere, in others and within themselves. They notice that sharp criticism reveals an unhealed wound, that arrogance is just armor for insecurity, that exaggerated kindness may mask resentment. They live in a world where the unconscious constantly spills out into the open. Jung warned that this level of awareness can overwhelm the mind. Most people need the veil of illusion to function, the ability to believe in appearances, to trust social masks, to let some contradictions remain hidden. Without those protections, the differentiated perceiver risks becoming paralyzed, unable to unsee what is there, yet unable to act without being swallowed by it. The result can be chronic anxiety, paranoia, exhaustion, or psychic collapse. This is why Jung emphasized that the gift of perception must be accompanied by the work of individuation, the lifelong process of integrating the unconscious with the conscious. Without individuation, differentiated perception becomes a curse. With it, the same gift becomes a pathway to wisdom. As Jung studied this phenomenon, he noticed there were 4 distinct ways people responded to such perception. Some turned it into spiritual creativity. Others denied it until they collapsed. Some grew cynical, seeing only deception in the world, and a rare few learned to integrate it, turning unbearable vision into clarity and compassion. This was Jung's central insight. The problem is not in what is perceived, but in how the psyche holds it. Differentiated perception is not just about seeing through others. It is about facing our own shadow without running from it. And for Jung, that confrontation was both the most dangerous and the most transformative work a human being could undertake. Picture yourself at a company dinner. The atmosphere is light, filled with polite laughter, compliments, and casual conversations. On the surface, everything seems ordinary. But for you, nothing is ordinary. You notice the way one coworker laughs just a little too loudly, almost forcing it, as if covering resentment. You catch the quick glance of another, whose eyes flicker with jealousy before returning to a polite smile. You sense the subtle sharpness beneath your manager's calm words, every phrase carefully placed in an invisible game of power. For everyone else, it's simply a pleasant evening. For you, it's 2 events unfolding at once, the polite surface and the hidden underworld. Most people attend one dinner. You attend 2, and the burden doesn't stop with others. The more you perceive these shadows in the people around you, the more you begin to feel your own. When you criticize the coworker for being insincere, a voice inside whispers, "Haven't you done the same to be accepted?" When you resent your manager's arrogance, another question arises. Do I not carry that same pride, just dressed differently? This is the torment Jung described, because there is no escape. Once you see, you cannot unsee. The world becomes a hall of mirrors, where every person reflects not just their hidden self, but also your own unclaimed shadow. The weight of this vision can crush you. Some people retreat into cynicism, convinced that every gesture hides manipulation and every smile conceals hostility. Others withdraw entirely, isolating themselves from the unbearable noise of hidden truths. And some collapse into anxiety or despair, unable to silence the constant awareness of what others deny. But Jung believed there was another way. He said true freedom begins the moment we stop reacting automatically, when, instead of condemning or fleeing, we learn to integrate. When we recognize that the shadows we see in others are also alive in us. At that moment, perception stops being a curse and begins to open into wisdom. This wisdom does not appear overnight. It requires courage, the courage to hold what is revealed without judgment, and to transform pain into insight. It requires patience, because every projection you notice in another is also a call to deeper self-reflection. And it requires practice, because the mind longs to return to old patterns of blame and defense. Jung called this practice individuation, the process of uniting opposites within yourself, of facing both light and shadow until they no longer war against each other. For the differentiated perceiver, individuation is not just helpful, it is survival. If you've ever felt this weight, the sense of seeing too much, of noticing what others miss, know this: you are not alone. Jung believed that humanity needs such perceivers. They are the ones who reveal hidden dynamics, who pierce illusions, who hold up mirrors that others would rather avoid. It is a lonely role, but it is also essential, and if this reflection speaks to you, take a moment to support this journey. Like this video, share it with someone who might understand, and subscribe to the channel. These small actions help bring these insights to more people who may be carrying the same burden and the same potential as you. Carl Jung often reminded his students, real freedom begins the moment we stop reacting mechanically. For those who see too much, this truth becomes vital, because perceiving is not the same as integrating, and integration is the only thing that prevents overwhelming awareness from becoming destructive. If you find yourself burdened by a heightened perception of people, here are practical steps to turn this gift into strength. Step 1. Recognize the pattern. When you notice something hidden in another person, false kindness, concealed envy, or a subtle attempt at manipulation, your first impulse may be to react. Pause instead. Tell yourself, I'm noticing something others may not. This simple act creates a small distance between your perception and your reaction, and that distance is where awareness begins. Step 2. Separate perception from judgment. Seeing a shadow does not mean you must condemn it. Jung taught that the shadow is not evil in itself, it is simply what is denied. When you see arrogance, envy, or hostility, remember, this does not make the other person a villain, it makes them human. By separating perception from judgment, you free yourself from being swallowed by moral outrage, and instead, stand in clarity. Step 3. Turn the mirror inward. Jung believed the qualities that disturb us most in others are often reflections of our own hidden shadow. Ask yourself, what in me is reacting to this? Where does this same pattern live inside me? That question is not comfortable, but it is powerful. Each answer is an invitation to growth. Step 4. Choose a conscious response. Once you've recognized and reflected, you are no longer trapped in automatic reaction. Now you have a choice. You can respond with patience instead of irritation, compassion instead of cynicism. Jung reminded us that individuation is not about escaping the shadow, but about walking beside it. Every conscious choice you make strengthens your psyche. Step 5. Create rituals of integration. Seeing too much is exhausting. Without release, the mind can become heavy with unprocessed truths. That is why Jung emphasized practices that allow the unconscious to speak safely. Journaling, drawing, meditation, or simply walking alone in silence. These rituals give your psyche space to digest perception and transform it into wisdom rather than overload. When you practice these steps, perception begins to shift. What once felt like a curse starts to reveal itself as guidance. Instead of drowning in shadows, you learn to navigate them. Instead of being haunted by what you see, you begin to understand why you see it. Jung warned that too much consciousness can shatter the mind. But he also believed that this same consciousness, if integrated, becomes the very thing that liberates us. Differentiated perception does not have to end in collapse. It can be the spark that ignites individuation, turning unbearable vision into profound insight. Each time you pause, reflect, and respond consciously, you step out of the prison of automatic reaction and into the freedom of true awareness. And in that freedom, what once tormented you begins to transform into the very wisdom you were meant to carry. Carl Jung believed that every painful perception is also an invitation to growth, to see the hidden motives, to sense the unspoken tension, to notice the shadow others try to conceal. it can feel unbearable. But Jung taught that what seems like torment can become transformation if we dare to face it. When you recognize manipulation, you are not just seeing another person, you are being invited to ask where manipulation hides in your own life. When you notice pride disguised as humility, you are being asked to reflect on where that same pride might live within you. Every uncomfortable perception is also a mirror, and every mirror is a doorway to self-discovery. This is why Jung warned that differentiated perception could destroy those who carry it. But he also believed that the very same gift, when integrated, could turn someone into a rare kind of guide, a person whose clarity helps others navigate their own unconscious struggles. Humanity, Jung suggested, depends on such people. Without them, we remain blind to the forces that quietly shape our lives. And here lies the paradox. You do not carry this gift alone. Individuation, though deeply personal, is never only about the individual. Each time someone integrates their own shadow, they make space for the collective to grow. One person's inner work becomes a ripple in the larger human story. At work, this may look like breaking cycles of silent competition and fostering true collaboration. In family life, it may mean ending patterns of pain that echo across generations. In society, it means daring to name what others avoid: hypocrisy, fear, prejudice, and holding it to the light. Jung believed that when one person sees more clearly, everyone benefits. Perhaps that is the real purpose of being a differentiated perceiver, not only to see the hidden, but to transform that seeing into wisdom, and that wisdom into healing. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to support this journey. Like this video, share it with someone who might understand, and subscribe to the channel. These small actions help spread Jung's insights to others who may also feel the burden and the promise of seeing beyond the surface. And now, a question for you to reflect on in the comments. Have you ever had a moment where you felt you saw too much? A situation where you looked through a social mask and could no longer see the person the same way? Share your story. Jung believed that what is spoken loses its power to haunt us. Carl Jung said that true individuation is not about escaping the shadow, but learning to walk alongside it. Today, you can choose to see your shadow. Today you can say, I see beyond.